I gotta tell you how this show came to be. You guys know I live in Ohio. In January, when this nigga Trump and Elon made this Doge thing and cut all those government jobs, the housing market in my hometown plunged 20% in the first quarter. And I don't mean to talk like a white. But boy, they did that, didn't they? And then when this nigga deployed the National Guard in my hometown and took the police department from the mayor, oh, DC niggas, we don't like that. But then my governor in Ohio sent our National Guard to police my hometown. And I called these niggas and said, I'm pulling up. Because these niggas is trying to take the chocolate out of Chocolate City. I said, I gotta go home while it's still a city I remember. And then I went on Instagram and saw all the protests in DC, and there was a bunch of white people like, not on our streets. I said, oh no, it's too late. These whites are entrenched. Not on our goddamn streets, you don't. This nigga Trump was talking like he goes out to dinner. It's not like that. Yep. And I gotta tell you the truth. This is not the only city this is happening in. It's happening in California. It's happening in Oregon. It's happening in Illinois. And it's happening in Memphis. And the niggas in Memphis, they might need it. You gotta be reasonable. I don't know if you've been in Memphis recently, but them niggas already stole 2 tanks from the National Guard, so you already know. You already know, you know. And I came here mad, ready to fight, but when I drove through the city, it looked clean, guys. I gotta tell you, it looked clean. A lot better than the last time I was here. Today I only saw one guy take a shit on the street. But you know what? He had a bag. That nigga picked it up. I was waiting for somebody to do something about the homeless. You know what's fucked up about DC? We the nation's capital, and nobody even gives a fuck about the homeless. I'm gonna tell you the truth. I feel like I'm the only one that does. Now, y'all don't know this, but quietly for the last 2 years, I have been secretly working with Washington's homeless, and I have spent $2 million already on my homeless project. No, don't clap for me. I didn't get them food or anything like that. I just taught these niggas to Thriller dance. And you got a big treat coming up on Halloween, you'll see. And I'm sorry I didn't come home sooner, but I've been very busy in Ohio. And a lot of people say, what are you doing out there? And I don't know if you know this, but this is true. I'll tell you what I've been doing. The town that I've been living in for the last 25 years, I bought most of it. I like it there. Ohio loves Trump, but this town I live in is like a little itty bitty Bernie Sanders Island in the Trump Sea. All the whites are poor out there, but these are like the dirty hippie whites, and I like them. I like these whites. And they like me too. But you know what I learned about liberal white people? Liberal white people let black people do whatever the fuck they want until you buy most of their town. Oh, they frowned on that. Them whites got real suspicious, but you know what? I don't blame them. Because, no, for real, because look, If I was white and the people in this town were black, you know what they'd say? They would say I was gentrifying the town. But there's no word for what I'm doing to these people. I own everything, nigga, everything. I used to be mad at white people when I was young because I thought they were unfair. But now that I have all this property, I understand them. It's fun. Feels good to walk up to white people like, are you supposed to be here? Calling the police. It's fun. I own so much property in this town, and this is true. These white people think I'm responsible for their well-being. That's ridiculous, nigga. I'm not no public servant. I'm a capitalist. I be walking down the street minding my own business, and they come up to me with their concerns. Dave, congratulations on buying the whole goddamn town. But you need to start thinking about some affordable housing around here. And I'll be like, well, actually, champ, I can afford my house. That sounds like some shit you need to worry about. Because if I think about it, I can afford your house too. So if you want to sell, come holler at your boy. I'm collecting the whole town. I'm collecting the whole goddamn town. You know, I don't know where these poor whites got the money. But not long ago, these motherfuckers built a brand new fire station out of the blue. Where the fuck they get this money from? I was like, what the fuck is this? And then, you know what they did? This is some real racist shit. They tried to sell the old fire station at an auction when they knew I was gonna be out of town. It's fucked up. But it's far too late for that. I got that whole town rigged with snitches. Them niggas couldn't wait to tell me. They was running up, my lord, I have news, my lord. I was like, what's going on? It was just, you say, a firehouse. Nigga, I bought the firehouse. I turned that motherfucker into a comedy and music club. We be rocking in there. Clip's been there, we all be out there rocking. Every famous person I've ever met, I asked them to play that club. I seen Mick Jagger from the Rolling Stones at a party. I asked that, I said, yo, Mick. I said, Mick, you gotta come to Ohio and play my club. And he was into it. He was like, all right. He said, all right. I like playing clubs. He said, but tell me about the town. I said, well, what do you want to know? And that nigga looked at me like you know, Mick Jagger look. He said, are there girls there? I lied right in his face. I was like, yeah. He knew something was wrong. He's like, no. Come on, Dave, you know, like the kind of girls that I like. I said, Mick, I don't know what kind of girls you like. I think he said, you know, you've heard my music. Are there white bitches with dirty feet? I said, Mick, you are going to love this place. Mick, these bitches will put a ring around a public pool. Dirty hippie pussy, that's what I'm dealing with. I hate guns, personally. I can't stand them. Yeah, but I have several. I don't want them, but I feel like I need them. Don't forget where I live. I live in Ohio. And anyone that knows anything about Ohio knows that even the word Ohio is an old Native American word. It means, literally, land of poor white people. And I don't know what's going on down here, but in my experience, poor white people love, and I mean they fucking love, heroin. They can't seem to get enough of it. I didn't even know what I was looking at first. I was just driving like, why are all these white people so sleepy out here? These things. It's really bad. As a matter of fact, I was coming out of a nightclub the other night in Dayton, and I'd parked my car in the alley, and no one was out there. I didn't have no bodyguards or nothing. I was home. I figured everything was fine. And as soon as I opened my car door, all by myself, suddenly one of these heroin-addicted whites just pops out of a trash can. It scared the shit out of me. I screamed, "Ah!" And then I realized it was a woman. She was fucked up. She's like, hey man, relax, okay? I'm sick, all right? I need some drugs, man. Please, I'll suck your dick for $5, man. I was like, ugh. 2. Obviously, I'm joking. This opioid crisis is a crisis. I see it every day. It's as bad as they say. It's ruining lives. It's destroying families. Sadly, you know what it reminds me of, seeing it? It reminds me of us. These white folks look exactly like us during the crack epidemic. You know, it's really crazy to see. And all this shit they talk about on the news about how divided the nation is, I don't believe it. I feel like nowadays we're getting a real good look at each other. It's wild because I even have insight into how the white community must have felt watching the black community go through the scourge of crack. Because I don't care either. Hang in there, whites. Just say no. What's so hard about that? Remember when y'all said that to us? But it's okay. There's no grudges. Now you finally got it right. Once it started happening to your kids, you realize it's a health crisis. These people are sick. They are not criminals. They are sick. Be that as it may, I'm armed to the teeth. First gun I bought was a 12-gauge shotgun. I didn't want the gun. Remember though, I'd moved to a farm and I was sitting there on the porch and I see a white dude walking across my property, entitled, like he's supposed to be there. He had a rifle over his shoulder too. Ain't that a bitch? I said, what the fuck is this guy doing on my property? I was mad as shit, but I was unarmed. So I ended up just waving to this motherfucker like a bitch. I was just like, and as soon as he got far enough away, I ran to my car and sped to Kmart. This is in a rural white area. And remember, I was nervous because the guy was on my property, I'm black, and I was sweaty. You know what I mean? And I ran to the gun counter, black and sweaty, sweating and black. And I looked up at the nigga, I was like, I look like a slave or something. I said, I need a gun immediately, like that. Just like that. The guy didn't answer, no questions. He just grabbed a 12-gauge shotgun, handed it to me. I'd never even held a gun before. I'm not a dummy. I'm like, well, I need some bullets too. And the guy reached under the counter, put 2 box shells on the counter. He said, all right, buddy, which box do you want? And I didn't know. One box had pictures of some ducks on it. And the other box had a picture of some deer. I said, well, what's that box with them ducks? He said, oh, that there's birdshot. And then he goes just like this, I'm not exaggerating, he goes, that won't kill a man. He said, it'll just pepper him up nicely. I said, what the fuck? Pepper? You know what it means to pepper a motherfucker up? It means that when the shell explodes, hot BBs will shoot out of the barrel of the gun, not killing a motherfucker, but penetrating their skin and shallow flesh. Boy, that's gotta hurt. Hot BBs? Remember when Dick Cheney shot a motherfucker in the face and he lived? That was birdshot. I said, well, what's that box with the deer on it? He goes, oh, that there's buckshot. That'll put a hole in the goddamn truck if you wanted to. So which box do you want? And he picked the one with the deer up and shook it. I thought he was trying to trick me. I was like, do you have a box with a picture of a white dude trespassing on it? Because it's exactly the strength I'm looking for. But I didn't know that if you're defending your home with a shotgun, the formula dictates that you're supposed to buy both boxes. This was not a formula that I was familiar with. It goes like this. The 6 shots in a 12-gauge shotgun, so when you load the gun, you load it like this. First shot, bird shot. Next shot, buck shot. Bird shot, and then after that, gun's Jamaican. Buckshot, buckshot, buckshot. She got to picture it. Okay, like say I'm in bed and I'm sleeping, and suddenly my wife wakes me up. David, wake up. And I'm like, oh, look who's come around. And I pull my dick over the top of my pajamas. And she says, no, I hear something. I go, oh, this bitch. So I get up out of bed, grab the gun. I say, wait here, baby, I'll go check it out. Just lock the door behind me. Oh my God, she's right. Right there in the kitchen is a heroin-addicted white, and he's digging through the change jar by the door. I worked really hard for that change. I gotta do something. So first, I wrap the shotgun. Hey, motherfucker, click, clack. That's a test. That click, clack sound will stop a rational human being in their tracks. But sure enough, this person is not rational. They're sick on drugs. They're digging in the change. I gotta act fast. This nigga's almost got $1.50. I warned you, birdshot. And there it goes. Hot BBs will permeate his yellow heroin skin. Remember, I'm not killing him. I'm just peppering him up nice. He lets out a heroin scream. And that should be the end of it. But, I miscalculated. While he's on the ground screaming, I noticed that his teeth are horribly miscolored. That's not heroin at all, is it? That's crystal meth. He pops right back up unscathed. Roar! Time for the heavy stuff. Clack, clack, buckshot! And then if he got a friend with him, I got one more bird shot left, and I repeat the cycle. After that, nigga, it's slugs for everybody. And I'll be in a kitchen full of dying heroin addicts, saying stupid heroin last words. You shot me, bro. Oh, it hurts, man. It hurt. The last words are always the dumbest words. Like, why is your dick out? I'll be real with you, and I know nobody gives a fuck what I think anyway. I'm not for abortion. Oh, shut up, nigga. I'm not for it, but I'm not against it either. It all depends on who I get pregnant. I don't care, I'll tell you right now, I don't care what your religious beliefs are or anything. If you have a dick, you need to shut the fuck up on this one. Seriously. This is theirs. The right to choose is their unequivocal right. Not only do I believe they have the right to choose, I believe that they shouldn't have to consult anybody, except for a physician, about how they exercise that right. Gentlemen, that is fair. And ladies, to be fair to us, I also believe if you decide to have the baby, a man should not have to pay. That's fair. If you can kill this motherfucker, I can at least abandon him. It's my money, my choice. And if I'm wrong, then perhaps we're wrong. Just figure that shit out for yourselves. I mean, really, y'all, what the fuck are we doing? I can't live in this new world you're proposing. And meanwhile, while we're worrying about all this other shit, look at what's happening. They just killed another 12 people in a mass shooting in Virginia Beach. This shit's happening every week. It happens so much, I don't care anymore. I came home early from the road. I had a $12,000 suit on, because life's been going good. And I got home early, and dinner was cooking. You ever come home when dinner's cooking? Doesn't that smell good? And my son saw me, and he was like, Dad's home. And he got up from the table and ran over to give me a hug, but he had chicken grease all over his face. So I stepped on him like, yo, my man. Wash these threads, son. This is an expensive suit. I don't want you to get the chicken grease all over me. And he was like, what the chicken grease? Dad, this is duck. A tear came out of my eyes. I never dreamt I'd do so well in life that I'd raise a nigga with duck grease all over his face. And we sat down, we just talked about everything. I was telling my wife about how my shows were going, and I told her my trans jokes, and she was like, oh, I hate that joke. And you know why she hates the joke? Because she's Asian. But you know what I mean? I don't make that face at the house unless we're really fighting. And me and her, like, we weren't arguing, but you know what I mean? She was just like, you need to stop doing that. And then I tried to change the subject. I go, how is school going, boys? And my sons tell me, well, we didn't have school today, technically. I'm like, well, what's going on? And he said, well, there was like a school shooting drill. I never heard of this. You know what this is? They have drills that they make kids do where they practice what to do if somebody comes to shoot up their school. I'd never heard that before. I was like, what the fuck? Then I had to tell my sons the truth. I didn't want to tell them this shit. Son, listen to me. Fuck that drill. If somebody comes to your school and wants to shoot it up, I'm just gonna be honest with you. You probably gonna get shot, nigga. I'm just being real. You got a famous dad. I talk a lot of shit. They gonna be gunning for you, little buddy. Just stay low and run in a zigzag pattern and don't try to save anybody, son. Do you understand me? Why would you have kids rehearse for some shit they have no control over? All you're doing is training these kids to worry. It's the stupidest drill I've ever heard of. And while you're in there training them during these drills, well, aren't you training the shooter too? This nigga's in here listening and learning like the other kids. Sit in the back. Where are we supposed to meet? If you're a parent, this shit is terrifying. This shit is real scary. All the parents is looking at each other crazy. Because we know as parents that one of us is raising the shooter. Just don't know which one of us it is. All we know for sure is that if you're a white parent, the chances that it's you is exponentially higher than the rest of us. And shooting up school is a white kid's game. It's fucking crazy. You know, I hated school too. It never occurred to me. Kill everybody in school? It's fucking crazy. Just do what I did, nigga. Try some things. Have you skipped school, nigga? Skip school. Take a walk and meet some other kids. Fuck school, nigga. Try drugs. Have you tried drugs out, nigga? That might... Some scary shit. I've given this a lot of thought. I don't see any peaceful way to disarm America's whites. There's only one thing that's going to save this country from itself. Same thing that always saves this country from itself. And that is African Americans. That's right. And I know the question that a lot of y'all have in your minds is, should we do it? Yeah, fuck yeah, we should do it. Listen, no matter what they say or how they make you feel, remember, this is your country too. It is incumbent upon us to save our country. And you know what we have to do. This is a fucking election year. We gotta be serious. Every able-bodied African American must register for a legal firearm. That's the only way they'll change the law. Sometimes I think that the media is hard on Trump, because I'll see shit that they get on him about that doesn't seem bad to me. I mean, the nigga got on Trump about not staying in the White House enough. Who gives a fuck? This motherfucker was rich. Used to shit in a gold toilet. It's true. I don't know if you've ever been to the White House. It looks like a very nice place to work, but I wouldn't want to live in that Scooby-Doo ass house either. That shit's terrifying looking. Imagine you trying to jerk off in the crib and Abraham Lincoln's just looking at you like... Shit, Bush didn't stay there either. He was rich too. He was like, fuck that, I'm going to my ranch in Texas. Obama was the first motherfucker to move into the White House like, this is a nice place. Look at this rug. The media got on him about putting Jared Kushner in his cabinet, and I didn't think that that was the worst thing he'd done. I mean, it was still early, and I mean, it's not unprecedented. Kennedy had his brother as the attorney general, right? And this motherfucker's a Washington outsider. To be honest with you, I'd probably do the same thing. As a matter of fact, I do. You think I go to a Hollywood meeting with all them white folks by myself? I bring my nigga Mac Mittens from the streets. I don't even know his real name. Everybody just calls him Mac Mittens. But I know he's not qualified to even listen to these meetings, but this motherfucker just makes me feel good. And all the white people look at me like, Dave, do you mind asking your friend Mac Mittens to excuse us so that we can talk business? And I say, fuck that. Anything you say to me, Mac Mittens can hear that shit. And he listened to the whole meeting. And when they done talking, I just look over at Mac Mittens, and if he gives me the signal, meow, meow, I'll sign the papers. It's a gut check. Or how about this one? Remember when it was the day after the election and the president of Taiwan called Donald Trump to congratulate him? And Donald Trump, of course, took the call and talked to the president of Taiwan. Problem with that was Taiwan doesn't have a president. The United States functions on what they call a one China policy, and Taiwan is a renegade province of said China. And Donald Trump didn't know that and picked up the phone and started yammering away, and the media ate his ass up. And I'm not gonna lie, I was laughing like shit. I was like, oh shit, this dumb motherfucker is in trouble. And then that night I was in bed drifting off to sleep, and then I had to admit it to myself. I was like, I didn't know that shit either. And then I realized the media got the story wrong. The story wasn't that Donald Trump took the call. The biggest story is that nobody told Donald Trump not to take the call. That's terrifying. God damn, nigga, you don't have a Mac Mittens on your team? It wasn't like they were calling the White House. They were calling the switchboard at Trump Towers, and they were getting through. Anybody. Mr. President, there's a Ricky Ticky Tabby on the phone for you? Yes, put him through. Hello, Ricky Ticky. Good to talk to you. Mr. President, there's a John Jacob Jingleheimer Smith on the phone. Oh, his name is my name, too. Put him through. Hello, John Jacob. Let's talk business. How many people in this room are not originally from the United States? By round of applause. Where are you from, bro? You right there. Iraq. You're from Iraq? Ew. I was fucking around. How long have you been here in the country?
23 years.
23 years? Are you a citizen yet? You are? Congratulations, nigga. Congratulations. Well, welcome to this great land. I'm going to give you a history lesson, because I'm sure this wasn't on your entry exam. But every naturalized American has heard something about what I'm about to tell you. Picture it's the early 50s in the United States. This 14-year-old boy goes down from Chicago to Mississippi to meet his extended family for the first time. He'd never been to Mississippi. And before he went, his mother said to him, very pointedly, she said, if a white man looks you in your eyes in Mississippi, look away. And I don't know what you know about black people from Chicago, but they're not a scared people. Legend has it, he was in front of a convenience store, hanging out with his cousins, having a good time, and a white woman walked out of the store, and he thought she was pretty, and he said, bye, baby. Not realizing that he had just made a fatal mistake. 4 days later, a group of adult white men burst into this family's home and snatched a 14-year-old boy out of bed in front of his family that was powerless to stop them, and he was never seen alive again. His name was Emmett Till. They found his body maybe a few days later. It was in a creek, tied to a wheel so it would sink, horribly beaten and bloated. Hideous. And lucky for everybody in America, his mother was a fucking gangster. She was. If you can imagine, in the very midst of a mother's worst nightmare, this woman had the foresight to think about everybody. She said, leave my son's casket open. She said, the world needs to see what they did to my baby. And every publication here in the United States, from Jet Magazine all the way to the New York Times, had this boy's horribly bloated body on its cover. And if our civil rights movement was a car, this boy's dead body was premium gas. This was a very definitive moment in American history where every thinking and feeling person was like, ugh, we got to do better than this. And they fought beautifully, and here we all are.
And the reason that I bring that up tonight and why it's relevant now is because less than a year ago, the woman that he allegedly whistled at admitted on her deathbed that she lied in her court testimony. And you can imagine when we read that shit, we was like, ooh, you lying ass bitch. Was furious. But that was my initial reaction. And initial reactions that we all learned as we get older are often wrong or more often incomplete. They call this phenomenon standing too close to an elephant. The analogy being that if you stand too close to an elephant, you can't see the elephant. All you see is its penis-like skin. You gotta step back and give it a better look. And on stepping back and thinking about it for a few moments, I realized that it must have been very difficult for this woman to tell a truth that heinous about herself at any point in her life, even the very end. And I was grateful that she had the courage to tell it before she left this world, because it's an important truth and we needed to know. And I said to myself, well, thank you for telling the truth. You lying ass bitch. And then time goes on, and then after time, you can kind of see the whole elephant. And it's humbling, because you realize that this woman lied, and that lie caused a murder. But that murder set in motion a sequence of events that made my wonderful life possible, that made this very night possible. How could this be that this lie could make the world a better place? It's maddening. And that's how I feel about this president. I feel like this motherfucker might be the lie that saves us all. Because I have never felt more American than when we all hate on this motherfucker together. Jesus Christ, it's good. And when it happens, I can see everybody that's struggling. So if I'm on stage and I tell a joke that makes you want to beat up a transgender, then you're probably a piece of shit and don't come see me anymore. Or if you don't understand that when a football player takes a knee during the national anthem, he's actually standing up for me, then you might not want to fuck with me anymore. But I swear, no matter how bad it gets, you're my countrymen, and I know for a fact that I'm determined to work shit out with y'all. And if that woman that said that heinous lie was alive today, I would thank her for lying. And then I would kick her in the pussy. Thank you very much, Washington, D.C. God bless you, and good night. My girlfriend at the time, now my wife, told me she was pregnant. And I was like, you know what? I should really start taking this seriously. When she told me that, before the baby was born, I had done my first HBO special, and then I went to work on a sketch comedy show idea I had, and Chappelle show came out when my son was still maybe 18 months years old. And I bet on myself. I took less money. I remember that, so I could do what I wanted to do. I said, you don't have to pay me that much, but you can't ever tell me that I can't do what I want to do. I did the first season, I'll tell you, for $300,000. Which sounds like a lot of money, but. It was a rare experience in my life because it was the first time that I did something that was so successful that I knew I had exceeded their expectations. I was more successful than I felt like I was supposed to be. They didn't plan on that. The second season came out and was a juggernaut, and then I remember this was the single best day of my career. The Rick James episode of Chappelle Show had come out. People were going crazy about the Rick James episode. At the same time, the DVD for season 1 of Chappelle Show dropped. It was the first time any television show had ever been sold off air, and it sold 1 million copies in the first day. It was unheard of. To this day, nothing has sold more than Chappelle Show. It's still on the top 10 in Netflix. All those great things happened, and my contract was up. Clearly, I was about to be rich. I'll spare you all the details of why it didn't work out. But it didn't work out. And I ended up doing something that no one had ever seen before, including myself. Maybe Prince is the only other guy that I've seen do this, where he just quit something that was popular when you're at the very top of it. Lucky for me, when I quit, I went to Africa, so there was a media storm that I didn't hear. By the time I got back, everyone was just looking at me crazy. That was a very difficult decision to make. The entire world told me I was crazy, but I was sure I was being true to myself and to something that I learned at Ellington. I'm one of those comedians that thought of himself as an artist. I was enamored by what the genre could do. It was like the pictures that I could paint with words and the way I could engage with audiences. I understood as it was happening. I was very lucky to be able to do this. And I protected that. And I knew that if I took the money, they would expect me to behave differently. And I wasn't willing to accept that. So I quit. And when I quit, it was a very difficult time in my life that I'll spare you the details, but man, fuck show business. It was tough. And then one day I was in Panama City, Panama, and I was at a hotel, and I looked at the lobby. There was a painting of Abraham Lincoln. And then I would look closer. It wasn't a painting. It was all pennies, just pennies, on a black canvas arranged into the face of Abraham Lincoln. And I asked the guy, I said, how much is that painting worth? He said, $600,000, sir. And I looked at the pennies that made up the painting, and I was like, that's like $300 worth of pennies. A light bulb went in my head. I realized the value of art. Some of the biggest wars and crimes and scandals in history were financed through the theft of art. Art is a powerful commodity. An artist, if you're good at it, should never behave as a commodity. That's a tough one. And then I gave up. I said, this is probably it. I accepted the fact that the career I thought I was going to have was over, but I started to rediscover just my art for its own sake. I would go to comedy clubs, and I worked for way less money than I ever had, and I enjoyed it more than any of the work I ever did. It was probably the best work I'll ever do, because it was so honest. It was so sincere. There was no media. There was no studio. There was no scrutiny, just me and the crowds. And I did it night after night, and slowly but surely the crowds got bigger and bigger. And then suddenly people started to notice, and Polestar would say, Dave Chappelle has the tour of the year. And again, and then the year after that, and then the year after that. And then Lorne Michaels asked me to do Saturday Night Live. And it wasn't just like he asked me. He was courting me. I didn't even know it. He gave me this whole long speech. I was like, all right. And then I read some book about Lorne Michaels starting Saturday Night Live, and I read the speech that he gave Richard Pryor when he wanted him to host the show, and I said, holy shit, that's the same shit he said to me. And I did it. And that was an enormous amount of pressure. It had been 12 years since I had been on television, or since I had even talked to the media. And I remember I signed my Netflix contract on my way to my mark for the monologue. If you do live television, they count down every second. 30 seconds. Are you sure this contract is good? It's good, just sign the paper, it's good. 22 seconds. Oh, nigga, you better not be tricking me. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I walked out on that stage and I killed it. It was natural. It was nothing. It was easy work. Got an Emmy for that one too. First Emmy I won. And when I walked on the stage, after being in the cold for so long, for the first time when I walked on the stage, I'm like, damn, nigga, I just made $60 million. That's what I thought to myself. It's been great ever since. Really, I could do these specials like Steph Curry. I'll be shooting from inside, outside, all night. It's been great ever since. A lot of my friends are athletes, and I never could understand what it would feel like to only have a limited amount of time to be great. You got 20 years to be the best, or 30 years to be the best. But when you do art, you could be great whenever the will decides that you're great. I feel very lucky for that. And I never forgot this school. I've always come back and checked in. One of my favorite honors was doing the commencement at Ellington. I can't even remember what year it is. I just remember they cheered for me when I came out. I wasn't a big star, but I was their star. And I felt like I was home. You know, all last year, I was touring with arguably one of the greatest, if not the greatest, living comedian, Chris Rock. Me and him toured all year last year. And right before that tour started, Chris was involved in what we blacks might even consider a goddamn 9/11. Chris got slapped in the face at the Oscars by Will Smith, which was one of the craziest things I'd ever seen. In fact, if you watch it live on television like I did, when it happened, I thought it was fake. I did, and I wasn't sure, so you know what I did? I waited, because I'm like you, I know Chris. I waited like 30, 40 minutes, as long as it would take him to get to another party. And I called him on FaceTime, and he picked up. As soon as he picked up, he said, "You was the only nigga I had to answer the phone for." Apparently, Obama and Oprah, everybody had called this nigga to see if everything was all right. And I thought it was fake. I didn't know. So I asked him, I go, well, you know. He said, what? I said, well, did it hurt? And he said, yes, nigga, it hurt. And then I knew that it was real. And then, and only then, was I offended. And I wasn't just offended that he got slapped. That was only half of it. The real offensive part was that after they slapped him, this nigga Will just sat down and enjoyed the rest of his evening. It was crazy. It was just... The fuck is this? And then all year, we was touring, and I couldn't wait to see what he was going to say in his special about this slap. And I toured him all year, but the night he taped his special, Chris was one of these guys that's crafty. You never know what he's going to say until he really says it. So I went to see him tape his special. He taped it right up the street in Baltimore. Now, you guys are from D.C., so you know about Baltimore. We all know that through the years, D.C. has been through some very, very tough times. And sadly, Baltimore is still in a very tough time. Not everybody in the world really can understand the depth of Baltimore. Baltimore is so desperate that Tupac and his mother moved from Baltimore to Oakland for a better life. And Chris Rock went so hard in the paint, and I can't believe he did this, he shocked a Baltimore crowd. I didn't even know that was possible. I started doing comedy around here. Shocked them. And you know what he said that got him? He looked at the crowd, he walked out. I didn't expect him to say this. He looked at the crowd, it was all black, Baltimore black. Even if you rich and black in Baltimore, you know them niggas is traumatized about something. And Chris shocked him, and this is what he said. He went to that crowd. He said, I refuse to be a victim. And the crowd said, oh. And I was backstage looking like, nigga, watch the tape. Do you know this strip club in D.C. called Camelot? Is that still open? Yes. Well, I know what I'm doing after the show. I gotta tell you. The other day, my wife called me creepy. You know, I frequent strip clubs. I don't want to, you know, it's something I like to do. And my wife said I was creepy because I go to strip clubs by myself. Is that creepy? I think that's better than going with the fellas. That's creepy to me. Hey, y'all, let's all go to the strip club and get our dicks hard together as a group of friends. Drive home in a quiet car and not talk about any of the things we've seen or done. No, nigga, I go by myself. But my wife doesn't understand why I go to the strip club. It has nothing to do with sex, you understand? I need a pinch of sexual energy in a room to relax, but it's more about being out. I like the music. A few naked chicks in there, it just makes me feel good, but I'm not trying to like socialize or meet anybody. You know, sometimes I go to the strip club and I bring a book. I do, and I sit right by the stage because the reading light is better. One time I went to a strip club, and this is weird. I don't know why. The stripper, for some reason, told me her real name. I know, so I left. She didn't understand. She was like, where are you going? I was like, good night, Deborah. God bless her, but my wife is mistaken about my life. She told me once she thinks my job is fun. My job is a job. I'm fun. It's too dangerous, man. I've been married a long time. I have, man. You know, I talk a lot of shit about my wife, but I love her very much. In fact, you know, you guys wouldn't believe this about me. I'm a jealous husband. It's true. Yeah, let me tell you something. One time I thought my wife was cheating on me. Yes, nigga, yes. That was one of the worst days of my fucking life. I couldn't take it. And I'm embarrassed about it now, but I can talk about it. You know what I did? It's fucked up, but I did do this. I waited. I waited for her to fall asleep. And when I waited a long time, she's Asian. I couldn't tell if she was asleep or not. I was looking at her. And when I was sure she was asleep, you know what I did? I stole the iPhone, took it downstairs and started trying out passwords to see if I could open it. I couldn't figure out the password. Then I remembered it's iPhone. This shit has facial recognition. I was just like, oh. And that shit opened right up. And I saw a text message in there from a fella named Earl. I don't know anybody named Earl. I woke her up out of her sleep. I said, wake the fuck up. Who the fuck is Earl? And she said, David, what are you talking about? Oh, don't you play dumb with me, bitch. I done open your phone. Who is Earl? And she said, oh my God, David. That's gay Earl from the hair salon. I said, word, what am I, a dummy? How am I supposed to know this nigga is gay? And she was calm. She said, read his text and look at his pictures. I started reading the text. This fella sure does spell girl with a U a lot. And I switched over and looked at his pictures, and I couldn't believe it. This fella looked gay and still pictures. His mouth was open in every shot. And then I knew she was telling the truth. And then I felt like dumb. I said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. Here, take your phone. I'm sorry, just go back to sleep. I'm sorry, I guess I just been insecure because all this cheating I've been doing. Good night. And she didn't let me leave. She said, well, since you want to wake a bitch up, and then she pulled my phone from under her pillow. I said, what the fuck? She said, who is this bitch in this picture? I said, how'd you open that phone? She said, it was easy, nigga. All I had to do was mash my nose and go like this, and it opened right up. I said, what the fuck? She said, who is this bitch? I said, give me that. Oh, girl, relax. That ain't no bitch. This is my friend, Deborah.